We acknowledge the First Nations people as the traditional custodians of this land, waters, and culture. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We record this podcast on the land of the Boon Wurrung and Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Always was, always will be.
In the depths of silence, where echoes remain, you were the sunrise, and I was the rain, a collision of souls.
Michelle, are you a shift stirrer?
I am, Rosemary. I've just moved from a career as a full-time worker to becoming a full-time artist, and I'm loving it.
Stirrer. Well, we're going to be hearing more about that. And today we're launching our podcast, The Shift Stirrers.
Yay! Okay, I'm Michelle Benson,
And I'm Rosemary Patterson.
and we are the Shift Stirrers.
So why stir the shift? What do we mean by that, Michelle?
Question I'd like to ask our listeners is, have you ever wanted to change something about your vocation and passion for it to become your new career? Our podcast is about hearing the stories of people's journeys who have made this transition. And our aim is to get you curious about what's out there for you. Okay, so we've had a change of locations due to technical issues, and we're now moving on to interview each other. Rosemary, over to you.
So, Michelle, we are the Shift Stirrers. Can you tell our listeners about an aha moment or a catalyst for realising that you needed to shift?
The shift was over a few years, but I think that what really hit me was the waterfall of ideas. When I was going, "Oh, I think I need to shift," suddenly it was like the floodgates opened on all my artistic ideas. I couldn't write them down fast enough because they were just flowing out of me. And it was as though I suddenly had let myself go to be able to embrace this shift. And how about you, Rosemary? Did you have a catalyst moment?
During COVID, working at home, I started to draw. So I guess time was my catalyst. So I guess having time to draw and then starting drawing on sketchbooks and then drawing it and doing some watercolor, and I really enjoyed it, and then collected some of my work into sketchbooks. And so I guess time was my catalyst.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you know what? I sort of slid slowly, more slowly than you did. But yours was, well, you've recently stopped one job. How long did it take you to sort of, well, did you think about it for a while or did you actually just stop?
I'm going to answer this in two parts, Rosemary. The first part is that my whole life, even though I was working in a much more corporate job, every night I would come home from work and draw and paint and do and create. But I think the idea really started taking action about 2 years before I finally made the commitment to do. And I started to cut down on my hours at work and look at how I could become more involved in the art world. And so for you, Rosemary, what was your life like right before you made the decision to change?
Yes, well, working at home, of course, because we never got back to the office after COVID. I was getting up in the morning and checking how many students or what sort of work they'd submitted, because I was an assessor for students at TAFE. And I was also designing learning programs as an instructional designer. So getting up and standing at the sit-stand desk. And so now it's quite different because I'm doing a lot more work away from the computer, but I'm still on the computer. And I've heard you've had a few changes from art to different sorts of work. And now finally, can you describe your work before this art change?
Well, I'm going to go back before that, Rosemary, because I started off life with a fine arts and fashion diploma back in the 80s, but from there went to a corporate financial role where I actually got all the ticks and all the credits that you need to be able to be a financial controller. And I've moved back into the art world in which I feel much, much more comfortable. It's so hard that you do need people behind you. Rosemary, tell me about your cheerleaders.
Yes, my cheerleaders, they're wonderful. Family and friends that turn up to my exhibitions, that buy my books on Amazon, that buy my books in person, and just contact me and say, I want this, and this greeting card from your website. Can you post them out? and that commission me for my work, for gifts for their friends, just because it's my work, which is amazing. And what about your cheerleaders?
My family, my husband, my daughters, my sister, and my friends have all been very supportive of me making this move. I think that that really helps you to actually make that move. And I found the most surprising one was my husband, because he made me turn around and create a proposal for what I was actually doing, which made me think about how I had to do it. What role did community play for you in this transition, Rosemary?
Well, I think I've been going to some U3A lectures on critical thinking and misinformation and what's currently happening. And I think that role sort of did stimulate thought about how can I bring some of those issues into children's books and have discussions with adults, and have adults get kids curious about asking questions and that sort of thing. And my latest book was inspired by the TV series Adolescence. What about you? Tell us about the role of community in your transition.
Well, I started selling my ceramics in the markets, the art markets around Victoria, and I've got to know a lot of other marketeers. We call them marketeers
Yes.
in that field, and I found they've been a generous community in helping you establish yourself in that market world, just supportive in ways I hadn't expected. I actually get there on a Saturday and a Sunday and I go, oh my gosh, I'm with all my new friends. So I really do enjoy that.
Oh, that's lovely. And I was at Dalesford Market last weekend and this beautiful man helped me put up my umbrella. Just amazing. I've been surprised how wonderful people are. Now let's talk about finance, Michelle. How did you manage the financial side of transitioning?
Well, slowly, Rosemary, I've actually given myself a timeline before I take it to make sure financially we can afford for me to do this. In my past life, my qualifications allow me to take on part-time work. And if I've given myself a date, and if it's not all working by that day, I will go to actually doing some part-time work in the commerce financial field, but I will never go back full-time. I will always, my aim is to make this work.
I'm sure you will make it work.
Thank you, Rosemary. What's one thing that you've had to sacrifice when you've made this shift?
I think working alone at home as an artist, that's what I like to do. I'm an introvert and I like reflective thinking about things. But I've had to let go of outcomes. So there's no meeting with your boss or KPIs, deadlines. So just to work for my own happiness. And I think Picasso had funny that I'm mentioning Picasso, but he had a nice little quote, if I remember it's something like, I'm learning what I cannot do yet. I am doing what I cannot do yet. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm keen to hear of your sacrifices.
Well, actually, I'm just going to say something. I thought I was an introvert until I started doing podcasts,
Ah,
selling in the markets. And it's like this whole other personality has come out where I actually really enjoy being a bit of an extrovert, which is something I've never been before.
wow.
But I think that time, and when I say time, I think leisure time, because especially during that key transition phase when I was working both roles, the time, I didn't have any free leisure time. I was either continually creating product, continually working in my job, or continually selling at markets. So the transition has been all time consuming, and I have had to sacrifice my personal leisure time to make it happen. Okay, so what unexpected skills have you brought over from your previous roles that have been valuable to you in this move?
Yes, well, there's lots, but I suppose one that's obvious is having been a moderator for a not-for-profit. Used to run webinars, and I guess sort of I've worked with you on this, and I've done some of the scripts, and so that's I never thought I'd be using that again. And there's lots of others, and I know that you've been enjoying. We've both been doing our teamwork, which I mean, we could have had other artists that may not have worked in teams. So it's been great to be sharing Google Docs. And it was very funny the other day when I was working and Hi Rosemary popped up on the Google Doc, and I thought I was the only one working on it. So it's hilarious. But apart from teamwork, what have you found that you've brought to your art space from previous work?
I think my role previously, I had to have a lot of discipline, and I had to be self-motivated. I think those skills are skills that I've brought across. Writing lists and proposals, attention to detail, planning. These are all things that have been transferable. I think having a really large understanding of financials has helped me because I really do know what I'm doing. And what about you, Rosemary?
Yeah, so I've always been an educator, so I guess it's a natural progression to then be writing children's books. But I think having written case studies for students so they can understand some complex theories, I've found my children's stories have come to me quite easily. And I also taught document design, so that helped with the layout of the children's books and my greeting cards. And then, of course, if I think back to being a mother with young children and explaining empathy to them when they talked about other kids not being kind, I think that sort of comes into my art as well.
Love that, because I think I think art is all about empathy. What new skills have you learned that have helped you with this transition? Tell me about
Yeah.
those.
So as you know, we're just learning so many new skills. I had to focus on Procreate, which is the software to draw with on the iPad. So once I'd done the sketch and I might have done some watercolor, I might want to also add something else in or draw something straight onto the iPad, which is using Procreate. So software, learning software. Yeah. And another software I had to learn was Canva to actually publish to Amazon. And so we're learning all the time, aren't we? And what about you?
We are learning all the time. I cannot get over how much I've learned, even in just learning to produce this podcast
Yes.
and dealing with glitches that you weren't expecting. But a key one for me has been photography. I never photographed my creations previously, and now having created a website, which was another learn,
Yay, well done.
the quality of my photography has had to up a lot. And learning to sell. I didn't know how to sell before. So now I think that's brought out my lorikeet, as they say, and learning to actually be positive on days when you're not having a good days. Yeah, lots of learning.
Yeah, I'm not good with images. I'm not good with taking photos of my work. I need to work on that too.
Mm.
Great. And what about has your sense of identity changed at all?
Well, I think I'm a lot more confident. I have moved on from feeling like I'm an imposter in the art world and feeling like I belong. So, and every day doing things like selling, creating podcasts, I feel that confidence coming out in me.
That's great. Awesome.
So, Rosemary, from working as a TAFE teacher, I'm guessing your identity has changed too.
Yes. Well, I am an introvert, so art has helped me actually tell my stories and have a voice, which has been great. So I guess that's something that has changed for me. And so what does success mean to you, Michelle?
I think my view of success has changed. Initially, it was, well, if I can make money at this, then I've been successful, which seems now a very mercenary way to look at it. It's become more about getting my message out. And my message is that about human frailty, which is that we're all beautiful. We've all got torn bits. We've all got damaged bits, but we're still all beautiful. And getting that out to the world and people understanding that has actually become my view of success, that people actually stop and look at my work and say, oh my gosh, I love your work, it's beautiful. And I explain my story to them of where I'm coming from. And often that touches them. And I think that's important. And they'll tell me their stories. So yeah, it's a big change.
That's
And
amazing.
and how about you? What was your view of success now versus before?
Yeah, well, perhaps before, of course, a student might get a qualification and then you hear that they've got a great job out of that or they've gone on and studied something else. for success now, if someone picks up my work at the market and says, "Did you make this?" and they really like it, that makes my day. But also from the creation of a storybook and on a long drive, deciding what's going to happen or waking up in the morning and going, "Oh, that's what that character's got to be," whatever, to actually holding the book in your hand, such a reward. Yeah.
I can imagine it would be. I can
Yeah.
imagine it would be.
And what has been any most rewarding or unexpected outcomes for you, Michelle?
Well, I feel more centered in myself. I feel as though I'm on the right path now. I feel as though I'm where I'm supposed to be in life at the moment, which is a wonderful feeling because for so
Amazing.
long I felt as though I wasn't really fitting in. And I've made so many friends on this journey, even to date. You've been one of them, Rosemary.
I'm
As we
so
said,
lucky.
we met through a course we did called Evolve, and we actually had an exhibition with three other artists together. And from that, we decided to create this podcast. So, for you, Rosemary, what's been the most rewarding thing?
Yes, well, the same. It's been great working with you. And for me, the creativity, when you're not working and your head has got room to create, I've been surprised how the ideas come and just being in the flow, it's just been amazing.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And what's up next?
Well, I've got my next children's book storyboard laid out. It's about how we look at selfies, how we take selfies. And I'm thinking about a coffee table book that I've started, and I've got an author talk coming up. So, yeah, lots to do. Very lucky. What about you?
Well, I was just going to ask you about your coffee book first.
I'm having a play with text within a shape to, as you say, try to get the possibility of a viewer to sort of get an emotion or an experience by looking at my work. So I'm excited about that. And our mentor, Amy, has been helping me with that. And yeah, I'm pleased about it. What about you?
I'm in awe about the coffee table book at the moment. Sorry. Okay. So I would like to have a solo exhibition next year. That exhibition, I'm planning to have it on, it started out being the 7 Phases of Woman based on Shakespeare's poem,
Amazing.
but it's now sort of becoming about the hidden codes that women have written throughout history. Some of them are considered quite mythological, just myths. For example, the hidden codes in quilting on the Underground Railroad in America during the Civil War there. And there's also the Bijou Tapestry, which was actually put together by Saxon women, even though it was the Normans that the Bijou Tapestry is about. And they would write hidden messages within the Bijou Tapestry. So it's about what we as women portray and say in comparison to what our real message is. It will still have that 7 ages in it, but it's an evolving thing. Yeah, it's something I'm still working on. And the other one is I'd like to get my application completed, which has to be done this week for the Warrandyte Pottery Exhibition. So by the time you hear this podcast, I will know whether I got into it. So yeah.
Well, fingers crossed for that. And I can't wait for that exhibition.
Thank you, Rosemary. So what's motivating you right now?
What's motivating me? Well, having come to art, having the time to focus on art now in my older age, I seek out people who are clever. And I watched the movie Naiad, who was about a woman who made multiple attempts to swim the Straits of Florida when she was 60. Then recently, of course, we've lost Jane Goodall. What a wonderful person she was. She went from secretarial work to this wonderful research, living in the field and having to learn to observe, draw, document and make new discoveries. Such a big skill leap, and I love to hear about that sort of thing. What about you?
That's lovely. Well, strangely enough, it's similar in its way. I am listening a lot to people's stories, both historical stories and recent stories. Jane Goodall being one of them. What I'm loving is the strength and resilience of people. People are like willows. They bend, they don't break. That I'm finding fits with my work ethos, and I'm finding it incredibly inspiring.
That's awesome. Have you got some advice you give to someone in the before position who's sort of wants to get out of what they're doing and get into art?
You can do it. You can take that leap. Plan. I recommend you plan, but you can do it. Follow your heart and follow your passion. You'll feel so much better for doing it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Why did
Why-
you want to? That's not going in the bloopers, that's staying. Go.
Okay. All right. Why did you want to start a podcast, Rosemary?
Well, lots of fun, so much fun. You and I are on the same page, but it's mainly, as you said, it's not about us. It's about some stories that we can get by getting people to come on our podcast. And actually, I love podcasts. I love What's That Rash. I love Not Stupid. There's heaps I love. And I think you're going to tell me about some other podcasts too sometime. What about you?
Yeah, there's ones like Art Juice. I love Art Juice. It's a great podcast. And there is The Guilty Feminist, which I love.
Oh, I want to listen to that one.
Yeah, it's quite good. But I agree with you. It's not about us. This one is because it's our first podcast. But in the future, it will be about people's journeys and their story through that journey of change. And the idea is that it inspires you and motivates you to be curious about making a change in your life.
And I think you've just answered that question. What do you hope listeners will take away from the Shift Stirrers?
I want to help them make the shift. So, Rosemary, what's motivating you?
So I'm motivated to help our listeners to get curious about what's available for them and get creative about exactly what you've done, Michelle, is like just get curious about how to do some more art. And here is our final question I'm going to ask you.
So,
If you could give your past self one superpower to make the transition easier, what would it be?
well, I'm going to answer this two ways. So, first of all, I think I'd like to be Flash, who actually does everything at lightning speed and can get through masses and masses of stuff in a very small amount of time. But there's a Barbara Streisand song, I think it's called Everything, where she says she would like the perfect twins. So when she goes out, the twin comes in. And so that you're always out there and you have the energy to do it. So yeah, that would be my superpower.
Awesome. I love that. Flash.
how
You
about-
better get a Flash t-shirt.
Yeah, the Flash t-shirt. I'm working with you on the podcast t-shirt right now. So let's leave the Flash one for a few weeks and get the
Okay.
podcast one done. Rosemary, what would be your answer to what was your superpower?
Yes, well, if I think back to my youth and I started remembering when I started working again on art, my mother showing me so much art, so many processes. I wish I could have actually just made art alongside all the other things I did, the growing up, the career. So my superpower might have just helped me do my art alongside my other stuff. So thank you, Michelle. I'm so excited to do a podcast with you, and thanks to our listeners. We've just done our first podcast.
And thanks, it's been so much fun, Rosemary. Disasters that we've had in putting this first podcast together. Trust me, it's been fun. All right, thanks everyone.
In the depths of silence, where echoes remain, you were the sunrise, and I was the rain, a collision of souls.
We finished Us. Wow. First interviews over and done with, Rosemary.
Yes.
Who do you think I've got coming up as the next guest on our podcast?
I'm not sure. I know you've been thinking up lots of great ideas and talking to lots of inspiring people. Let me guess. I can't guess. You tell me.
It's Adam from the Rose Street Market.
Wow.
He's been transformational in people's lives by setting up those markets. So many people have transitioned their lives and being able to earn money along the way so that they're then able to choose their vocation.
Amazing. And that's the market that anyone who visits Melbourne has to go to.
Yes, it'll be a great discussion. I'm looking forward to it. And that's in a fortnight's time. So listeners, please ring in your diary. That's a good idea.
Good find. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you for listening to The Shift Stirrers. You can find us on Instagram under The Shift Stirrers, or you can email us any questions, because we will answer questions either in the show or get back to you on theshiftstirrers@gmail.com. All our separate contacts are available in the show notes, so please send us questions, give us a review, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to us, tell your friends about us, because we are new and we're looking for all the followers we can get. More people who know about Stirring the Shift, the more people who'll come back. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
In the depths of silence, where echoes remain, you were the sunrise, and I was the rain. A collision of souls